it's going to get tired when I say it. It's really cool. Some of the rewards aren't really nice, and it's replayable. It's not just like, oh, I just did that thing and I got my badge and I'm gone.
In fact, you will be incentivized to play them again because you're rewardable.
You will pay attention to those zone event messages, I tell you.
Yeah, and it's actually kind of cool too, because we do give you a little bit of background as to what's happening. So before you start, you're not just wandering and going, why do I need to participate in this? We do give you the ability to kind of read up a really quick snippet of what's going on in each zone event, so you can kind of, choose what you're going to do before you do it. Oh wait, there's more. Hey, something I promised a while ago when I first became lead designer was, what? More content. So what we did was we introduced a lot of really cool missions, and as with the Going Rogue system, the morality system, with Pretoria, we gave you just hundreds and hundreds of missions to kind of chew through. And what we wanted to make sure was that we actually follow up on that, because we introduced a really cool system with the tip missions and the morality missions, so we gave you more, and they span the levels 20 to 50, so you get a lot of love in each of the level ranges. We also gave you some, if you're a Praetorian and you left Pretoria, for the 4 people that did decide to stay around, but everybody else that went out and ventured into Paragon City or the Rogue Isles, well, you get there and you're like, well, what do I do now? Well, these missions are for you. They kind of expand the story. I believe they're 20 to 29. And so they just kind of give you a little bit more information about what's the deal for Praetorians in Primal Earth. And also, for those of you who maybe, I can't imagine anybody here does not have the Going Rogue expansion, but okay, maybe 1 or 2 of you, I don't know. If you are a hero or villain, you are not left out in the cold. We actually gave you some love there as well. So the hero story arc kind of revolves around, it's like the mystery of the Metaporter. The Metaporters are getting a systems upgrade because of this, potential Praetorian threat. But the citizens are a little bit up in arms because it's like, hey, how come these aren't being handed out to the general populace? What's up with that? So it's kind of up to you to kind of find out what the deal is and get to the bottom of it. But this particular story arc really kind of gives you one of those really tough choices as a hero, and it basically defines you as a hero. What is the sacrifice you're willing to make as a hero? And this is where those kind of shades of gray, not easy decisions come into play. For the villain story arc, you are actually contacted by a former member of the Legacy chain, and you get to find out about this Leviathan underneath the streets of Sharkhead Isle. And you get to find out what is the source of its power. In this particular mission, you find out really what it is, what it means to truly be an arc villain. So, go villains. Oh, but wait, mission architect. Okay, so what we did with Going Rogue is we introduced a whole bunch of new mission maps, we introduced a bunch of new villain groups, and we introduced some new power sets. And what we traditionally do is we wait an issue and then we hand them to you. So for all you mission architects, you now have a lot more mission maps to play with, you have more villain groups to mess around with, and you've got 2 more power sets to use when you create your wonderful stories. Oh, hey, David.
Oh, hey, let's start.
For any players, or for anybody in the room who isn't a player, the Mission Architect system is a system we introduced a couple years ago, where you can craft your own stories, you can create your own villains, contacts. So it's like, if you like our game, that's great, but if you want to create your own stories and level from 1 to 50 with your own stories, you have that ability to. Some supergroup members use that as a recruiting tool, say, hey, if you want to know the backstory of our supergroup or supervillain group, play this story arc. And they will take examples of supergroup members and populate it, or they'll, go crazy and say, hey, I want to make an Alice in Wonderland story arc, and they'll make the Red Queen a misunderstood person, and Alice, the villain. And players have a lot of fun with it, and it's really cool.
All right, alternate animations. There's an art contribution for the issue. Our animation team created a number of new ways of kind of casting powers. And what we've done is gone back to all of the powers that Jesse's about to list, all these primary and secondary powers, and added these new looks to many of the powers in each of these sets. So it also applies to obviously blasters, corruptors, and of course defenders and dominators as well. And in particular, what we're trying to do is find powers that have maybe a particular flavor. Like you're all used to this, you're all used to this, you know. That kind of stuff is the sort of thing we're going to target to give you a new flavor, you know. And so maybe this doesn't fit your robot character. Well, now you have an option. Now you can shift it and look the way you really want to. Now, there's a couple other things we're working on. Obviously, we've been supporting design with all these new maps. You're going to see redressed versions of all these zones you're quite familiar with, and you're going to see them in an entirely different light.
Instance maps.
Right. Yeah. And so you guys have encountered the IDF before, but in sort of a temporary costume. This is the real deal. This is the true IDF look and feel, and they are pretty badass. And of course, we've already talked about Praetorian giant monsters. These are tough. These are big, tough enemies, and you're going to have a lot of fun trying to kill them. Oh yeah, and then so we made a couple of auras for the next issue, and they snuck out the door prematurely through technical issues, and the form response was actually really awesome. You know, you guys liked them, so we're like, okay, let's give them to them. Yeah. So those are yours.
But I wasn't done. I get to keep going. So, I mean, I think most people know about this, but, you know, fitness is now an inherent power for me. I said this before at another panel. What I wanted to make sure that we did was keep Pretoria pure, so that everybody who is experiencing Pretoria for the very first time, it's a completely level playing field. So you guys have a fresh experience. So now that we've had some time for everyone to, you know, experience the content, now we're going to actually open it up for Primal Earthlings so they can experience it as well. One of the things that players have been asking for is notoriety contacts in Pretoria, and if anybody doesn't know what a notoriety contact is, they are kind of your difficulty sliders. These are the contacts that make your missions tougher or easier, so you can challenge yourself as much as you want. And we had notoriety contacts in City of Heroes and City of Villains, but now they're in Pretoria as well. So the Calvin Scott Primal Calvin Scott Task Force is back. This is something that players actually expected to get with Ouroboros, but didn't, for technical reasons. Should we tell the story? It's kind of a goofy story.
Yeah, so, well, why don't you tell the story?
Alright, I'll tell the story. So, when one of our developers was basically, you know, putting contacts in the world and coming up with names and stuff like that, I kind of forgot that Sister Psyche was a redhead, and she sort of changed her look, and so the Calvin Scott Task Force was the answer to go from, okay, why does she look like this, and now she looks like this, so what is the transition between Aurora Borealis and Sister Psyche? And this was kind of our, hey, it's so great when you own the IP, you can do whatever you want, and this was our kind of our answer to that, and so...
So, for anybody who has seen the original City of Heroes cover, you notice that there are 3 signature characters, or 4 signature characters on there. Statesman, Sister Psyche, and Miss Liberty and Back Alley Brawler. That Sister Psyche...
was not in the original.
Yes, so this was supposed to be Sister Psyche.
Well, you know.
Aurora Borealis.
Forgot the name, did something else.
Wrong model made.
Yeah.
And so there was a switch, so we had to explain why we had it. Why in all of our marketing materials, Sister Psyche was presented as a redhead. And in our game, she wasn't, so we had to come up with some fiction. And,
fast moving.
And that fiction meant the end of the Calvin Scott Task Force.
Yeah.
But
now it's back, because you guys wanted it. The great thing with Ouroboros is you can go back in time and things change. Okay, so since the monorail is really jealous of the auction houses merging, they decided to merge them too. So now you should be able to travel much faster, easier, shinier within Paragon City and the Rogue Isles on your ferries and your monorails. I don't know if you can see in the picture, but we've also given you a little bit more information about the zones. So we put a level range on there as well for you. So if you're just, you know, a brand new player and you hop the monorail, you end up at Peregrine Island and get jumped by something really nasty, well, now you can make an informed decision. Yeah, so what we've also done, and it doesn't show here, but if you've got actually a tram mission that's going to take you to, you have to hop on the monorail to get to your mission, it'll actually be flagged with a star at the top of the list, so you know that that's an important area that you need to go to. Just kind of make it more obvious for you.
And they got jealous of the auction.
And they got jealous of the auction. Yeah. So hospital gurneys and hazard and trial zones. I actually did a hospital gurney when I kind of redid the hollows, And players really seemed to like the fact that they didn't have to go all the way back to Alice Park or whatever their previous zone was when they were defeated. So what we did was we basically went through all of our hazard trial zones and we added those gurneys as well, so that you're not tricking back several zones to get back to your, your fight. So, yay, you're welcome. And one of the other things that we did in Pretoria was we threw these little kind of low-level inspiration nurses that are stores in the hospitals in Pretoria, and of course they all have names that may or may not be familiar to you. It was a little bit of an Easter egg on my part. So we put them in all of the hospitals in Paragon City and the Rogue Isles, but I guarantee you that I did not give them unique names because it just ran out. I'm sorry, they're all called nurse or combat medic. So, Tia in her lovely dulcet tones just makes me all relaxed and peaceful.
So this now marks the end of our presentation. We will shortly be taking questions from our attendees. And I would like to ask that you keep those questions focused on the content of this presentation and issue 19. So while you guys line up